Welcome to the Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each show we'll have a talk about a Linux project. Generally, we talk about a Linux distribution, although I think maybe we don't generally talk about it. We talk about Linux stuff, open source stuff. Could be a desktop environment, software, applications, anything that is open source related is on the table for discussion. And with me today, I have a fantastic, I had to search for a word there, assortment of people here to join me in the saloon. I got Schickel, Eris, Dan, Kelly, Colin, Servan, Steve's very own Mark, and Ben from his very own iPhone. So welcome all. Yep, your volume is way better now. So whatever you did, stick with it.
Well, this has a clearly better mic than my laptop at the moment.
That has a clearly better mic.
If he had an iPhone 10, would he be Ben 10?
Is it an iPhone 10?
No, it's a 12 Pro.
Okay, then he's a Ben 12. There we go.
Oh,
It better have
golly.
a good mic for what they
have bad
want.
jokes galore. We are talking over each other.
So Schickel, you said you raised your hand already, but I will get to you in just a moment. So I am Nate. I'm a Linux fitness and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost, I do emphasize almost, unhealthy obsession with the OpenSUSE project. And coming up, we have an application Appetizer. We're going to be talking about time management applications. Check what's on the menu for next week. We'll go through our news flight, a community free pour, and a last call. But first, I'd like to start off with, what have you been doing in Linux or tech? And Colin, you said you had something pretty fantastic that you've been doing.
No, I didn't say fantastic. I just said I had something I wanted to talk about.
Oh, so then it's terrific. Which
could be.
Which adjective are we going to use?
I was look, it's different or something new, maybe. I was watching Switch to Linux, Tom from Switch to Linux. I was watching him, and Dan was on there as well. They mentioned a distro called Rsi OS. Has anybody heard of it?
No.
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 Now, we used to have a young guy come on here called Pizza Loving Nerd. Does anybody remember him?
I absolutely remember him.
He's made a respin of Fedora 36, and and he's added all these tools within there to make new users get up and running on Fedora 36. And so far, I'm quite impressed.
Nice.
So
he commented on one of my episodes of Twill about that. I forgot what it was called, but I mentioned how Fedora needs more derivatives in terms of people think that Ubuntu is so important because of all the derivatives and like Linux Mint and Elementary and all these other things. And Fedora, while being so close to Red Hat, somehow doesn't have that level of importance to the global scope. And I was thinking that maybe derivatives is why. So having more of those would be great. And I mentioned that on one of the episodes, and he responded talking about the one he's making, and it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, he's got some tools in here that run scripts and so forth, but they're nice little windows and stuff that pops up. He's using the web apps from Linux Mint, and he's got an actual store within it. And he's got all these pre-made web apps that you can install. So I did Instagram one, works no problem. And you don't have to go searching for the login screen and whatever. It's there. So he's got, it's all categorized as well within the web apps. And you can choose things, popular things that he's added in there, which is quite neat and very impressive. Also, he has.
Did you say neat or Nate?
It's
very egocentric.
Depends what accent I was using. He also has a Rsi Tweaks, so he has a tweak tool as well, which has extensions and a script there for installing some popular web browsers, an experimental one, UI layouts. And the one that's that I find most impressive is the Rsi Welcome, which has a welcome screen, first steps, installing Codecs, proprietary NVIDIA drivers, which depends on what drivers you're using. In Fedora, if you go to the software center and scroll down to hardware drivers, that's another option which I had to use. He has this quick setup, so he has all these applications you can install under different categories: audio production, gaming, and so forth. So yeah, it's very interesting and quite easy to set up Fedora. I was having a problem with Flatpaks, but I think it's a Fedora thing. Flatpaks are erroring out and not installing. There is a command you can run to temporarily fix that. I think it's a SE Linux problem, which is their security, isn't it? Fedora SE Linux is some
SE
type
Linux
of
is their
security.
security system. Yeah, I mean it could be that. I don't know. I've seen other people comment about having Flatpak issues as well.
Yeah, there's a command you can run to temporarily. I don't know what it does in the background, but once you run that command, they will install, but they will not install again. And if you come across it again, just run the command again. So I don't know what it is, but the command definitely works. But I'm quite impressed with what he's done with the Fedora thing here. It's quite interesting.
I wonder why Fedora would have trouble with Flatpak. It seems like Flatpak is kind of first-class citizen in Fedora.
It's probably just a bug.
Something's just, yeah, it's a bug. I think I've seen a bug somewhere. Somebody was mentioning a bug or something, so it must have been introduced with the latest 36. So there is a slight workaround, but hopefully they sort it out in the near future.
Yeah, and the good thing about using Fedora is that when there are bugs like this, you can get updates pretty quick and not have to wait 6 months.
It's nice
Got
to
'em.
get outside of its package manager if you can't get the package you want and it's in a Flatpak.
No, I'm saying Fedora actually gets updates versus other distros that don't.
It's a good point. Well, very cool. So do you see yourself, Colin, using this at all, or are you going to kick the tires on it, or have you kicked the tires on it?
Well, I have it's running on my Toshiba laptop, which
Okay.
is my difficult one, which has Optimus NVIDIA card. His NVIDIA installation didn't work. That's nothing against the Rsi OS. That's just the Optimus. So, but I did try the software center and install from there, and that worked fine. Everything seems to be working pretty well. The only issue I had was when I installed NVIDIA, I did not have option to within the known GDM login screen. You got a session manager, the little gear icon. You can choose Wayland or Xorg. That had disappeared, so I had to manually intervene and add something into one of the config files for that to show back up again. So now I can go from Wayland to Xorg depending whether I want to use NVIDIA or not. So, but now that's all working fine. But yeah, there's been a lot of talk about Fedora lately, and it's the new Ubuntu and whatever. So I thought I'd just try it out. I'm still not impressed with that installer.
It is becoming more popular.
It is, and I think they should hopefully they're working on the installer so it makes.
I can confirm they are working on it. In fact, they're redesigning it and they're doing a bunch of other stuff, including they're working on accessibility inside of the installer for the next release. And they're also doing like a bunch of other things, including like a full UI redesign and everything. So I'm excited for that.
That's great.
This Rsi OS, now that I've been looking at it for just the website, admittedly, it's not like I'm not actually testing it yet. The welcome screen system looks really good. I'm glad that they have that. I go on record many times saying that every distro should have a welcome system. Just to make it easier. I also like the fact that they have the Rsi tweaks and stuff like that. But also that wallpaper, woof.
You don't like it?
It looks like Picasso got punched in the face.
Yes, it's very abstract and
Very
I don't know. I like it. It's got a big. It's unique. That's the word for it. Unique. It's got a big.
That's a nice way of saying it.
Yeah, it's got a big R in the center for Rsi, and it looks like somebody just went slap.
Yeah, it's like they just got a bunch of paint and then like slammed it on the ground. And then take a photo of that. Perfect.
People get paid millions of dollars to do that.
That's true. It's true. I can't argue with that. They get paid millions of dollars by just putting like a block of wood on a wall and do nothing else to it. And somehow it's art.
I would say
That's right.
it looks like what you might see on the side of a bus stop.
True that. Or on the side of a
Maybe.
train even.
Yeah.
You probably might see it on the side of the train.
I could see
I've definitely
that.
I've seen trains like that in the movie Warriors, so it does look a little bit like that.
Can you dig it though?
Yeah, I can dig it.
That is an inside joke if people have not watched the Warriors. There you go. It's a good movie. Also, there's a video game based on that movie, by the way, Colin.
All I could say is, Rizzy, come out to play.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
anyway, enough
it
of
looks
that.
interesting. I want to play with it.
I mean, I'm fascinated that it uses ZSH by default in the command line.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes, it does. And
Relatively decent choice.
It's
yeah, it's
POSIX
very
compliant.
colorful
Yeah.
and it puts and it actually forward. What does it do? Auto completes certain commands that you've already done prior, which is quite interesting, but probably handy if you're doing the same thing all the time, but interesting nonetheless.
So now
Oh, yeah, the autocomplete is really nice.
I'm thinking now, ZSH versus fish.
That is the unending question.
That's-
There is no answer. I can give you my opinion, which is who cares? They're both great. Whatever. And the POSIX compliance argument that some people give is like, yeah, sure, fish is not totally POSIX compliance, but that doesn't mean POSIX is perfect and that it has to be always compliant. I don't know. So if you like fish, enjoy it. If you like ZSH, enjoy it. If you like one or the other and you want to try the other one, feel free. They're both fine.
The way I've always looked at that is that like the only time anyone will ever care if something is POSIX compliant is if they actually need it specifically to be POSIX compliant. Like convincing somebody that one shell is better because it's POSIX compliant. If they're asking, they probably don't need it to be POSIX compliant. That's they're not in that state.
I wonder if that would be a good Linux Saloon application discussion, ZSH versus fish, or if that would be a total dumpster fire.
Well, I think much like getting anyone to familiarize themselves with the terminal, it takes a while to get in with a shell. Like it takes quite a stretch to really know if it's how it is and stuff. But I mean, you can also just figure out that it's not what you want as well pretty quick. It just depends. So basically, that was a non-answer. I'm sorry.
I'm okay with non-answers.
I would say that it's a good topic to discuss. However, you would need people who, in my opinion, would need people who are like diehard fish people and diehard ZSH people and have them go at it and see what happens. But I actually expect it just to be a lot of yelling. So that's what diehards
we need
do.
to-
So,
I would never yell
So
over
when
a
they-
shell. Like I don't see.
well,
like-
I mean, sure. But people, would also say that they would never yell and argue over Star Trek and Star Wars. I mean, that's just not true. Everybody will.
That's a whole different thing.
Oh, okay. Sure.
like I've said before, Harry Potter is my favorite Jedi on Star Trek.
Agreed.
Like one thing I've heard about fish, like not personally experienced because I don't use it, is like some of the environment variables fail. I forgot what programs they were. Like some of the commands fail in fish. So in that case, it's like people recommend using bash instead for those particular things. I forgot what those were.
A lot of
seen-
times that will happen because of how the environment variables are set. Like when you're setting things like a path in your environment, like
Yeah.
that's usually like something where like you just type like export this, that, but like sometimes you have to like set certain things in like a certain order. It can do all of the environment variables like any other shell, but how it's set can vary.
You know what? I think bash is the best option and people should just use that one and problems.
I'll just use bash. I'm okay
Yep.
with that.
Sure.
I don't use bash. I use bash. I don't change it because I don't want to change it. Not because either one of those options are bad. I just don't want to do it. So I don't.
I honestly like bash when I'm using Linux, but as soon as I tried using Bash on Mac OS, I just realized it's not great.
Isn't the default of Mac OS ZSH?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I
gosh.
get that. That makes sense. Yeah. ZSH is good, and so is Fish. And I guess we're going in circles now.
There's like the pretty colors.
Like a fish.
Like a
Going in
fish.
circles.
But are we going to talk about Dash?
No.
Is that still a thing?
That's still a thing.
It will never die.
Can't say I really know about Dash. Is that another shell?
Dash is a POXIS compliant a shell, but it runs faster than Bash. So if you want to run a lot of scripts, you would probably want to make it do with Dash, so it runs faster.
Because it dashes.
Yeah.
Oh,
And if you want to
that.
get, if you want to use a shell, a POSIX compliant shell that will leave you with pain, that's called rash. It's not a thing.
Is there a cream
Get
for
a
that?
rash from Bash.
Well, on that bombshell.
Alrighty.
So, did anybody have anything else they want to talk about that they did this week? Shickle, please do.
I want to give a special shout out and thanks to Mark actually. I received this thumb drive and I have been running around and installing Pop! OS on machines in my local area, and it's been an absolute blast. So
You're welcome. Thank
Thank
the
you.
pop. Thank the System 76 people at the Linux
Will
conference.
do.
So.
Go ahead. I'll tweet it.
Damn,
Then.
thanks, Mark. Here's mine.
All right.
No,
I
there's
got
another
some
one.
stickers too. I generally don't put stickers on my computers. I was thinking, where should I put these? I still haven't put the stickers on yet.
Yeah, I don't put stickers on things too often either, unless it's an OpenSUSE sticker and it's one and it's on the back. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Now, how do you like the current version of Pop! OS?
I like where it's going. It's definitely. I think my sort of like technical inclination makes me notice things a lot more. And then my sort of like hyper attentiveness to things makes me uncomfortable when I notice certain things. So I like the feature sets and I like GNOME, but I like the tiling. But there's certain aspects of it where I can sort of like see it working when it does certain things, like when it's moving windows around. It's very obvious to me that like it's an extension on top of GNOME and not just like part of the desktop, if that makes sense. So a lot of little things like that. The features are great. The idea is great, but I'm really looking forward to when it's all one piece and not sort of in its current state, just because it just bugs me a little bit. Love
Talking about,
love the
like-
features though.
Like Cosmic when they have the full desktop
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they're doing with the Cosmic desktop. I know that's going to be like a year from now, probably, but I think it's going to be really interesting. And I am up for a new DE. I think that we don't have enough.
Mhm.
I'm kidding. We have plenty, but 76 has done a lot of good stuff in the past. So I'm very curious to see what they go with that. But I kind of agree with Shickle that Pop! OS has a lot of great qualities and a lot of good functionality, but some of their stuff is just not for me. Like, I don't like the way they do tiling, but it's not, it's just my preference, the way I like tiling. And it's kind of like their tiling is a hodgepodge. No, I wouldn't call it a hodgepodge, but it's a merge of like 3 different styles into one. And if you got started with tiling from their stuff, it'd probably be totally fine. But if you, like I did, and I've tried other things like Awesome and i3, it just kind of throws me off a little bit.
I think that's fair.
I'm also interested to know how Joshua Strobel is going with his new implementation of the Budgie desktop under the EFL type.
That's
desktop.
gonna take a long time.
It's going to take a long time, yeah.
I would bet
Colin,
probably.
I've been following their blog posts and stuff, and it looks like they haven't yet finalized whether they're going to EFL or not.
Oh, was that
they're
right?
going, but they're having like discussions about it. But I haven't seen any posts in a while. I think last time I saw was in June, so it's been a while.
Okay.
Well, last time I talked to Josh about this topic, he said that EFL is still the plan. Now that could change, like you're saying, but the possibility is more still leaning towards EFL. I mean, I kind of want them to use Qt because of the available connections to everything, but there are some issues with that I know of because of, the Qt 6 is still working on support for certain things. But I think that that's a better option considering EFL. There's going to have to be a lot of build out. And if they use EFL, we're going to looking at least a year, that I bet, before we even see a beta. But in the meantime, they're still going to continue with Budgie 10 and continue to, make a lot of good updates to that. So I'm happy about that, because if they were just waiting for the next version to be based on EFL, then we would not, it'd be stagnant, and then they might even lose users. But the fact that they're working on both like parallel, I think that's great.
I think so too. I wonder how long it's going to take to get feature parity. It seems like releasing it's one thing, feature parity is another. I mean, it took quite a while from KDE 3 to 4 before there was feature parity.
Yeah, I bet a long time, honestly. I bet a year about for the first release, and I bet probably parity in 2 years, depending on how many people jump in to start helping working on it. Like the current team said, I would expect it would take a while for that. But I think Budgie is a fantastic desktop overall. I mean, the fact that they have like such a nice polish out of the box experience, and also have all the nice features that they have. I think there's a lot of potential regardless of EFL or not. But EFL is one of those interesting library frameworks to pick. For those who don't know, it's very minimal. And if you've never used Enlightenment, that's a great way to test out EFL.
What about display server
The look is
for Budgie? How are they going to be using X11 or?
You mean the compositor, or you're talking about the window manager?
Well, like Wayland versus X11.
Oh, the display server. Okay, okay. I was just curious if you were actually talking about, but they're going for Wayland for sure. So, the support for Qt on Wayland right now is minimal. Like it's there, but it's not great, and that's why KDE support is still working on it. And that's one of the reasons why they were thinking about doing EFL, because Enlightenment has an easier path because they don't have as much sitting on top of the framework. But it's still, a ways off.
I've tried the Enlightenment Desktop for a couple of days. It doesn't look like anything else. It's a lot different. The workflow is a little bit different. The bottom panel is different. Like everything is different. The settings were interesting. It was a little bit confusing too, but I was playing around it a while. Then I moved on to something else. But Enlightenment Desktop is like really interesting if you guys want to try it out.
Very cool.
They have shelves, don't they, instead of panels or something like it's called shelves or something, I think.
Well, yes, I think they use shelves instead of panels, and they use gadgets. I think instead of widgets or something.
Yeah, gadgets. Yeah, sounds like
The latest version of Enlightenment added a panel system, sort of, so that it kind of has both a little bit. But that's the last time I covered Enlightenment on Twill. I remember them talking about panels, but the Enlightenment, it's not a desktop environment. It's not a window manager. I like to refer to it as a window environment, because it is basically in the middle there. Is really cool and really powerful, even though it's also super minimal. Like it's very flexible in what you can do with it. And my favorite thing is the fact that you can have a different virtual desktop on each monitor. Like you can have multiple different virtual desktops, but you can also have them independent per monitor. So if you have 3 monitors, you can actually have like virtual desktop 2 on monitor 1, and then 5 on monitor 3, and then 7 on monitor 1, and have, or whatever number I just confused myself. I don't know. But you can do all of those different configurations and then move them all independently, or connect them and move them all at the same time. And that's a really cool feature that I wish basically every DE had.
And to piggyback off of Michael, I like took some stats of different desktop environments. Enlightenment just took 330 MB out of the box, and the install size was like total install size was 3.9 GB, including Arch, and the boot time was 6 seconds. Like it's fast to boot. It's like OpenBox took 4 seconds, and this is like 6 seconds. It's fast to boot, and it's like 330 MB. It's like nothing. It's very minimal.
And unlike OpenBox, it's still maintained.
Yes.
I wonder why Enlightenment is so light. It's just less.
Because they start every from scratch.
It's in the
basically.
name.
Oh, okay.
It's because it's in the name, exactly.
Yeah. All right. That makes sense.
They had to obey the name of their window manager.
The in light.
But
Enlightenment.
it's because they started pretty much everything from the bottom up. Like the fact that their window environment is based on their own framework system and their own infrastructure for their window manager and everything. That's pretty much why they were able to minimize it, because they could only focus on the things they wanted to do and not include anything else. So,
because that's about half of what Plasma is at this time. Plasma's about 650 or so.
I don't know what you mean by.
So how many megabytes of RAM?
Was 700, and the boot time was 17 seconds. Again, this is on the Raspberry Pi. All stats are for Raspberry Pi. So it was 700 MB and 17 seconds of boot time. Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I don't think I disabled the splash screen though, but I don't think that matters. But it's much more intense. Resource intensive. Sorry, not intense. Resource intensive.
I just wanted to say Ben's had his hand up for a little while.
Yep, he's going to go next when we're done talking about the Enlightenment, when that conversation peters out.
Oh,
yep.
I just want to know if I'm heard.
You are heard.
You are, Steve.
And you sound fantastic.
It works. It's your... Okay. Okay, Ben.
Yay, victory.
You're seen too.
Oh, yay. Hey, guys.
Hey, Ben, how you doing? So you had something you wanted to
I'm all right.
share with the class?
I wanted to talk about, well, a couple of things, actually. Well, first of all, got to throw my Storm OS out there. We just had an ISO update recently, so feel free to look at that, anyone here who wants to. And also, this coming Saturday is my birthday, actually, the 16th, and I'll be 31.
Ooh, that's
so
PII.
That'll be interesting. Sorry?
That'd be interesting.
That's PII. You can't say that.
That's funny. My wife's birthday's Sunday, and she's going to be 30.
Oh.
Really?
Somebody robbed the cradle.
So I'll be but yeah, on that day I'll be getting a brand new MacBook M1, so that'll be fun. And other than that, I won't be doing a whole lot. So but I won't be here that day because I'm going out with some friends and whatnot. So I won't be here for the show, unfortunately. But so you guys will be without me that day, unfortunately. And that's really about it for today.
Well, congratulations on one more year around the sun and your new BSD laptop.
Oh God, that's funny. Thank you, Shiko.
There's a great, you have to look it up, the Volga Boatman song, and they have there's a happy birthday to the Volga Boatman, and it's my absolute favorite. Like, don't look it up or read it on Linux Saloon, because it's just
no. I'll look it up after the show.
Volga Boatman.
My favorite birthday thing is to send people the clip from Thor Ragnarok of the Grandmaster's ship.
Oh my God, that one is insane.
That's what I just send anybody like that for their birthday celebration. It's just and I also found a 10-hour loop of that, so I send them that.
Oh,
Jesus!
All right.
There is
another thing.
Go ahead, Ben.
Before you get to that, Nate, I just wanted to also express that my laptop is still on Storm OS as its daily driver, and also the other SSD I completely blew away Windows and put GNOME with Gen 2 on it.
Nice. Gen 2, huh?
Yep. So Gen 2 with GNOME 42. Yes, sir.
That's amazing.
So, my laptop is completely saying Windows, read between the dang lines.
I get you.
So, Windows is gone from this laptop. I'm never going back.
Oh, we heard that before.
Oh God, Steve, come on. I tell you, I finally said last straw. That's it. Linux. Hello.
Windows, what's that?
It's
That's funny, Dan, but it's true.
it's what I have open on my house when it's a nice, cool day.
Well, we'll move into the rules. I just want to say this week, I'll do it quick. I found how difficult it is to take a video track that you've mistakenly not recorded anything on it, to match it up with an audio track you had from another section and try to match that up. That was fun. But
Now
I
you're
think
a
I
pro?
may got it.
Are you a pro now?
A pronoun.
Are you going to religiously do now a clap for every recording?
Well, that's the first time I had recorded with when I was on the laptop last week and doing the OBS thing, and I set up all the stuff for the mic, the noise gate, and all that, and then I forgot to unmute the mic on OBS. So that was the
there's
big.
something. I forget what app it is. So there's an app that will automatically like line up like audio, but I don't know how it does it. I know it has to like stretch it a little bit and then like try and like match it with the frames, but there's a way to do it, I swear.
It was a lot of repeat. But I
It's
think
really
I might
funny
have
how
got
OBS is like the gold standard. Everybody absolutely uses it and talks about it, nothing else.
It's
Yeah.
mostly because if you're a Linux fan, it's pretty much all the options you have.
The only
It's
option.
OBS. If you're
Yeah.
a Windows user, you also have XSplit, but still OBS is better.
Yep. All right. So we're going to talk about some rules before you guys talk about the applications that you ran last week. So the intent is to talk about the different aspects of the application and discuss the experience after using it. This is the discussion that by which only objective and constructive comments will be its product. Non-objective opinions like this is garbage, it's not helpful. Rather, if you say, I wish I had this feature, or I really need features that allow me to, you are benefiting the conversation. The point is to highlight the positives, but not ignore the lowlights of the project as well. Remember, this is a labor of love for some. Let's not poo-poo it.
There's the you did a straw poll, and how
I
did that
did.
go?
So I put which time management app made you a master of time? Kangaroo is not required. So 0% said Flowtime was the best of the three. 13% said Solanum was the best of the three. 0% said Timecop. And then 6% said they were all about the same. 6% said I didn't have a good time with any of them. 56% said I was not interested in this exploration. 13% said I was unable to do the exploration. 6% said other. And the replies, this is all for Telegram. And the replies that I got was they do things differently, and it depends on your work. They do different things, and it depends on your work. Only Solanum is a Pomodoro timer. The other two are more for keeping time and basic project management with different feature sets. And somebody else replied, after extensive playing with the applications, the one I thought would be the least enjoyable was actually the most enjoyable, Solanum. Well, Solanum. I'm not sure exactly how you say that, but for Matrix, it was 33% said Solanum was the best of the three, and then 66% said I was not interested in this exploration.
I guess it wasn't a very
Good to know.
popular application choice, and that's all right.
Well, it happens.
Yeah, I would say
Not
swing and a
everybody
miss.
wants to be productive, and it's okay.
So the three
Good
applications, Flowtime, Solanum, and Timecop. I'm going to read just a little bit about each of them. So Flowtime, this is the Pomodoro technique, is efficient for tasks you find boring, but having time to take a break when you are 100% concentrated is something. That's why the Flowtime technique exists. Take your appropriate breaks without losing the flow. And Solanum is a time tracking app. They use the Pomodoro technique. You work in 4 sessions with breaks in between each session and 1 long break after all 4. And Timecop is a time tracking app that respects your privacy and gets the job done without getting too fancy. Some of the features are it's offline only, a mobile-centric design, runs on Linux, iOS, and Android, fully private there, no tracking, spying, or advertising, which is a great feature. Keeps track of tasks with multiple parallel timers that can be started with the tap of a button. Associate timers with projects to group your work, or don't. Start, stop, edit, and delete timers whenever with no fuss. Export data to a CSV file. Filter by time spans and projects. Export the app's database for full access to all of its data. Automatic light and dark mode based on your device settings. Localized in several languages thanks to Google Translate.
So let's break it down of like what these apps are for. So first of all, Solanum is a Pomodoro technique app. If you don't know what Pomodoro technique is, it's a time management system of making sure you have a deadline and you force yourself to stop working on whatever it is and take a break. So you have 25 minutes of work and then 5 minutes of break. And then you repeat that process 4 times. And on the 4th time, it goes from 5 minutes of break to 15 minutes of break. And the concept is to basically have a total of 30-minute break every hour. Hour and 20 minutes that you work. And the concept is that you go back and forth between break and work so that you're never kind of locked into one particular thing of completely being distracted and not working, and also not having a break, because that's not healthy either. So that's the concept of Pomodoro. And every single time you complete the 4 set, that is called completing a single Pomodoro. Now, that's how Solanum works. And Flowtime works in a different but similar way. Instead of doing the 25-minute countdown, it counts up until you're done. And then once you're done, you switch to the break point, and you get a 5-minute break. And then you repeat that process over and over. So it's kind of like a count up versus a countdown. Those are pretty much the how they both work, and they're very minimal in what they do in that sense.
So I tried all 3 of these, and before I give my take on any of it, who here tried one or more of these?
I tried all of them and also another one.
Ooh, and what was that other one?
One called Kronos, also on the FlatHub.
Kronos, that's a KDE app, I believe. Spelled with a K? Kronos?
It is spelled with a K, but I don't think it is a KDE app. It looks looks gnomish.
I'm sorry, I used chronometer is what I was thinking of. So I was incorrect there.
Chronometer?
Yeah, with a K. I use that one.
Yeah, chronometer is awesome.
Daily. So, but obviously for different reasons.
Yeah, I love chronometer, but I used Kronos as well, or I played with it anyway, and I think they all have benefits, and depending on what kind of tracking system you prefer and what kind of productivity method is good for you. But I do have a favorite, but I'll wait until we get to it so I don't take up too much time talking, as I already have the earlier segments.
And that's all right. Shickle, did you try any of these?
I did.
Yeah. And of the 3, which did you feel like you would get along the best with?
Solanum.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just very super straightforward to me. And I don't know, it just felt very linear, if that makes sense. And that's kind of what I'm used to.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Eris.
I mean, it's basically a hardcore exclusive Pomodoro timer. And if that's what you want, it does it solid. If you want something else, then that's not going to work, because all it does.
Eris, did you try all 3 of them?
I tried them. I think, what was it, a Timecop, the one that's like mobile centric? It was kind of weird putting the end time for that one.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was more just like click to activate it and click it to stop. So it was pretty simple.
The Timecop, you can stop it with a click, but you have to click it twice because it has the ability to do multiples at the same time. So when you click it on the bottom right, there's another little button for the stop button that pops up. So if you don't click the stop button, it keeps going. But the reason is so you can have multiples running up to, I haven't tested fully to see where it stops, but I've had like 7 or 8 going at the same time.
I'm talking about like when you set an end time for the activity. So you name the activity and then it starts, and then you go into some option there, and then you can set a time to stop. But the way you set it is you gotta scroll in order to like, it's kind of like iOS, I guess, with the clocks. You gotta like scroll up or scroll down to put a different number if it's higher or lower.
Yeah,
It
but
was a
that's
little
more if you want to add an
end
item
time.
that you're not actually tracking. Because if you create the start and end time, then you're setting a thing that you're just keeping track of the information. I don't think that's really the timer tracking part.
Okay.
I don't think it's a due date thing. I mean,
Yeah.
They were okay. I'm not really, I don't really do Pomodoro, so I wouldn't know if these were beneficial in that way. They seem okay.
So, of the three, which one did you find that you could get along with the best?
I'm not sure. I think Solanum.
Interesting.
Solanum? I don't know. I'm not even sure how you say that. That
I
one.
say Solanum. That looks like it's almost like selenium, but not.
I'm going to be different for the sake of it, just so that we have like a potential right no matter what. Solanum.
Solanum, like a
Oh my
solemn.
god.
Yep.
You're changing the
Thank you
Solemn
for your
solution.
service.
you're changing the emphasis on the syllable.
Or maybe even maybe it's like a solar thing, so it's Solanum. I'm going with that now. It's Solanum. Boom.
Well, I wouldn't say solanum because of the proximity to another vowel on the other side of a consonant. Would make me think it's the long sound.
Well, I think it's because it's a combination of solar, as in time tracking based on the day, plus the number of what you're tracking with a number 25 with Pomodoro, therefore Solanum. And I base that purely on stuff I made up.
That's awesome, and I like it because it's off into the weeds. Like it's like chasing down a white rabbit.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that struggles with that name for that app.
I don't struggle at all. I know exactly what it is now that I've decided it's what it is.
I'm very good. Dan, did you try any of these applications?
I tried Solanum and Flowtime.
Okay.
I found I had a lot of trouble trying to figure out what the flow time was and how it works and how you can set dates and times in it. It like had minimal settings to open to kind of figure out where you want your start time to be and your end times. Maybe I misunderstood the app completely. Yeah, I got lost in the part on flow time where it's got today, this week, this month. I don't care about this month or this week. I was more like focused on today, what I could do with it.
Well, that's just the statistics part of letting you know how much you've been working on over the course of time. So it's not really meant to be about your work. It's more about like just a nice overview of seeing how much you've worked over this period of time.
The Solomon, that app, that one I get. That one I could make it do what I wanted to do, and and so forth. I understand that app, and that I'm gonna say that's my favorite. That the other choice you had, Timecop, I didn't actually get a chance to get a hold of it and play with it. But
cool.
Well,
Solanum's cool.
I'm curious to know what people like the most of them. Just to start, because I want to move the conversation into the why and then how you use it, I guess. So I guess
Solomon was the easiest to figure out of the box, without doing a ton of reading and everything else. You played with the few little buttons and knobs that it gives you, and you've figured it out. Where I kind of with flow time, I was kind of struggling to find information on how it's supposed to be used.
For me, I didn't. I'd never heard of the Pomodoro technique before, and my interest was more. I have a couple of LLCs where I need to track my material participation for the year. So I liked Timecop, where I could select a project and then start specific timers and such. So that one, when I saw the others, and they weren't that interesting to me. Timecop ended up having the projects and the reports. And so that was the one that I ended up focusing on. And again, because of the use case that I have, being able to track hours towards projects, I think that was my most interest.
Yeah, that would be useful if you got to figure out billable time.
And I don't necessarily need billable time for my LLC. It's more about a participation type of thing. I think I have to have like 250 hours of to show material participation or maybe it's called active. I forget the IRS terms on that, but
I know what you're talking about. It's on your case schedule.
Yeah. So that was what was interesting to me. Yeah, if there was a use case of having to do billable time, then maybe something even more might be needed. I currently use QuickBooks Time, which of course is a web-based app.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that one's good because it automatically syncs and stuff with your work.
Yeah.
And I've used time tracking stuff, I don't know, years. And there's one called Toggle. It's Toggl and no E because wasting letters. And that one's a good one, and it integrates with a lot, but it's also proprietary web-based. So it depends on preference of what people want. And your experience of Timecop is pretty much exactly what mine is. I tried Solanum. I tried the Flowtime, and they both were too minimal for me. So when I tried Timecop, I think that it's great because it allows me to keep track of specific things that I'm doing. And it's not necessarily for, keeping track of hourly work. It's also good for people who want to keep track of something that they do consistently and being able to track how long it takes to do something so you can schedule stuff in the future based on your previous experiences. And that's how I was using Timecop this week, of being able to I'm editing Twill, for example, today. I tracked how long it takes me to edit, and then I could, reference that in the future for being able to schedule more accurately. And you could also maybe even use it as a way to beat the clock. Yeah.
So
there's also a bunch of other ones that I have now searched on FlatHub to find. There are like 5 more that I now want to play with. And a few of them I already play with because KDE makes a couple. And there's even some that are designed to just watch your activity on your computer and tell you how much time you spend on a given application and stuff. And that's kind of cool.
What's that one? That'd be interesting to try.
It's called Break Timer. And Break Timer is more of a thing that tells you, when you need to take a break. It's called Workflow. And I'll put this link in the Zoom. And it uses Activity Watch, was a separate project. So it's kind of like a GUI for Activity Watch.
Oh, okay. That's also interesting.
It's pretty cool.
I don't know if I'd want to have my computer watching me too closely. You spend too much time.
As long as the data that is being tracked is on my computer and going nowhere else, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, okay.
I would like to track myself and know how much I'm using a given application, because then I would I need to turn that application off because it takes too much of my time and attention.
Like RetroArch, something like that.
Yeah, or Rocket League. Whatever.
Rocket League, yeah. Would it know Rocket League or would it know Steam?
Probably would know Rocket League because I think it has the ability to detect the window title or ID or something.
Okay.
I think the games have separate IDs when you run them. I'm not sure. Pretty sure though. I think so. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Well, Steam already tells you how much time you spend playing it. There's a little number there. How many hours have you been playing Rocket League?
Yes. So what's the next topic we're discussing?
All right, so
it's many hours, just so you know.
Yeah, I don't want to tell you how much time I'm spending on RetroArch. So
it's over 3,000.
Wow. That's an investment.
Well, also it's over the course of 6 years.
Oh, that's
so it's not like I spent
a drop in the bucket.
Yeah. 3,000 hours over 6 years is actually somewhat reasonably still productive.
As long as if it's not over 9,000, it's fine.
Exactly. That's when you have a problem.
That can stop anytime, right?
or I become Super Saiyan in Rocket League. But anybody else have any comments about these applications?
I absolutely do. So
Nope.
I played with them all. I spent quite a bit of time playing with it. Actually, I set Solanum so I could take a break from playing with them at one point because I was spending too much time playing with them.
Nice.
And what I determined was how I like to. It was very good for me. I liked how Solanum would, warn me to go take a break for one, because I can get fixated on the computer, and I think that's probably unhealthy. That's not good for your eyes because watching a monitor for an extended period of time can cause near point stress in the eyes, which causes fatigue and a bunch of other problems, and so forth. So I thought that was really good. It forced me to get up and away when doing some editing. And then I think what I determined, like after spending the time with them, was the way I was tracking my time for different projects using a calendar, just very simple, just doing it manually with a calendar. That actually was more efficient than using the Timecop, I found. Because then I could.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I have different we'll just call them business units that I work on, and so when I do work on those specific things, I like to track the time, and then I like to be able to look at it after the fact, and it's nice to see and have a visual snapshot of what I've been working on for the week at the end of the week when I kind of reconcile the week, like on Sunday. So that I didn't like how data was actually stored as much on Timecop. Maybe if I incorporate it into some other database, it'd probably be more valuable. But I didn't. But for me, it was too cumbersome to deal with for me personally.
Well, the reason I like Timecop is it has an export to CSV.
Right.
So you could convert that into other things if you wanted to.
Right, and that I think is the value, but that's not as much value for me on that, because I can do something similar with the amount of time I spend when I tag it in K-Organizer, because that's what I use for managing my time.
Sure.
So what I like that
K-Organizer is a great application. It's not named very well, but it's a great application.
It should be called something else.
It should be called Calendar with a K.
Well, that's actually a thing now. Calendar with a K.
It is now. Also, Kmail should be changed to Caramel because with a K.
That would be more fun. Anyway.
Yeah.
Instead of Kmail.
Not relevant to the conversation, but I wanted to put that in there because it should be.
Maybe you should make your own app called Caramel. I don't know what it would do. So the other one, the Flowtime, I thought that one was okay, but I felt like I had to invest too much time in it to help me to be efficient with my time. I didn't like having to. I had to meddle with it a lot. I never really got a good flow on that one. So pun intended. And then at the end, basically, I settled out into saying, what I really need to make me operate better was just a simple thing to basically break my concentration from time to time for my own well-being when using my computer. So I ended up then settling on Solanum ultimately as the one I'm going to keep and continue to use. I actually really appreciate just the simplicity of it and how easy it is just to cause that necessary disruption in my work time.
Yep. I think it's a good option. Also, the whole thing about not looking at your computer too much. That's a good way of doing it, because they say to do it every 20 minutes to look away from your computer and, look at something 20 feet in the distance for 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But I never remember to do that ever.
Right.
So this could be a good way to implement that as well, because 25 minutes is close enough to 20 minutes. Why not?
Right. Yeah, why not? And that's
better than never.
Right. And that's actually the big reason why I'm going to use that. And I think that it was for me, this is a really great exercise in adjusting how I work on the computer in a very positive way that yielded something what I think is extremely valuable for me. And I'm very appreciative having gone through that. So the trouble is, if I just have it on the computer doesn't always follow me to my other things that I do. And I'm wondering if maybe a mobile
I have
app.
a solution for you.
Yes, a Raspberry Pi strapped to my back.
Nope. So Pomodoro technique has not been unfamiliar to me. I haven't used it on a computer, but I have used it in the past when I was studying. So it's actually helpful when you're reading stuff, like the break things, like because after a while, when you're reading technical stuff, you lose concentration and you get crazy. So there's an Android app called Productivity Challenge Timer. I've been using it for almost more than 10 years, but not too often, intermittently. So I would recommend, again, if you guys are interested in Pomodoro timers, that's a really, really good app. I think it's one of the highest rated apps in Android too. It's called Productivity Challenge Timer.
Cool. There's a lot of Pomodoro timers. I've not heard that one, but
I think this is the most popular one in Android, at least. When I knew it, like this app has been around for more than 15 years.
So Nate, what I want to see you do is I want to see you use get a Star Trek communicator and then have little buttons in there with the ESP32 module, and then you can do Wi-Fi signals to your time clock, or you could make a tricorder. Either way, you're on mute.
Of course I am.
Back
because I
in
do it
my
all the
day,
time.
we just used a sundial.
Yeah, I thought you still did.
Occasionally.
I do like the idea of a tricorder, or even the
I know.
or even the like the old Kirk era communicator, because you can have it like make the obnoxious noises instead of just the
Put little buttons on here, and then you can hit button 1 for time. Time for project 1. Chickens is 1. Antique car is 2.
The one is never an antique. It's always a car of the future. Just to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I stand corrected. That's right.
Oh, you're standing?
So I don't know if this has been mentioned. I had to get more coffee, but I use screen time, and I kind of wish it was something that I could also use on Linux. It addresses the issue of like my time tracking not being on just one device. It's really hard to find apps that like have sync services that work on pretty much everything. Like that's the struggle I'm having. I really don't want to rely on an app on my computer that I can't also use on my phone. Like that's not something I enjoy having to like manage. It's just two different things just to do the same job. I really would like to see some kind of system for that.
The only things I've seen that do that are the ones that have like, hosted SaaS cloud solutions type things.
Yeah.
Like Toggle is one of those.
That's a good idea.
Like I've seen those, and I've tried Toggle, and the other, I don't like the fact that I couldn't export the data from Toggle. That annoyed me. But other than that, it accomplished what it needed to. Having whatever your device is, it worked. You have a desktop application. I'm pretty sure it's even in the Flatpaks. So I'm gonna check.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, it is in the Flatpaks. I don't think it's an official version, but it is in the Flatpak. And Toggle does the same kind of thing that Timecop does, where it allows you to track specific projects and things like that. But it also does work across mobile and whatnot. I'm looking at this productivity challenge timer, and when the funny thing is when I searched the word productivity, that was like 5th on the list of suggestions. So this looks promising, and it has the ability to do projects, although I think it is very limited, and you have to pay for like how many projects you can have or something, maybe.
I think when I bought it, it was really cheap, but it was worth it. When I actually used it, it was worth it. I don't use it anymore, but it was worth it for me.
Productivity timer does not collect any personal user data without the user's consent. That's a great way of saying we track your data.
We take that data.
Yeah, we do not do this unless you give it the option to do this. And okay. The
Which
app
you
may
can't
share
use
device
unless you give us
identifiers,
the
other
option.
device data to advertising and analytics partner to send crash logs, personalized ads, analyze uses and traffic. To use the core features of this app, you will need to review and accept the terms of this privacy policy. So pass and removed.
Do they do that in the pro version too? There are no ads, right?
I don't care. They're still tracking you. You have to agree in order to even use the application. You have to agree to let them track you. So pass. Like I don't mind having ads, in certain cases. I don't mind having certain permissions that whatever, but tracking me to do like to even use the application, no, that means they're terrible and I will not do it. That's my policy regardless of application.
I wonder why they would take the time to track users on that. Like what is the big gain for that, I wonder?
So they can sell your data. They even say it in the notice. Basically.
Wasn't that what Ryan discovered when he did the DuckDuckGo app? That even a program that he bought was still tracking him, even though he bought the app on Android or something.
Yeah, I think majority of apps are still doing the tracking regardless of paid or not, because they have little incentive not to, because people will still download and use their stuff. And I bet that application used to not do that, like when you were using it a long time ago, it probably wasn't doing that. And now it's just decided, yeah, hey, let's follow the trend of being awful.
Like, again, I haven't used this in like 4 or 5 years, but when I was actually studying and using it, I don't think it had so many permissions and stuff. It was very simple. It used to work really well. Like, it does what it does really well. Like, it's very minimal.
It was probably
Again,
sold
I
to
haven't
it.
check the permissions in a while.
It was probably sold to a data analytics company.
Nah, I just think they're deciding to be bad.
Well, that's what they did with Audacity. Audacity got sold out to people who want to collect your data. If you get the
that's not what happened to Audacity.
If you get the FlatHub one, that one has telemetry.
No, so that's not necessarily accurate, because the FlatHub one's not made. That's not made by Audacity, and also the telemetry is not even on by default in Audacity. Period. Even if you get it from the official source, you have to turn it on. It's opt-in. So a lot of people have been saying a lot of stuff about Audacity, and most of it is not true.
I have OpenSnitch installed, and it pings something about every 45 seconds.
Yes, it pings to do the it's a ping for usage of how many people are using the application, which is very common. And while still annoying, and the fact that they do it so much, yes, that's annoying. But they're not tracking how you use it or who you are or any of that stuff. They're tracking users, but they can do that once a day, and that's also plenty. So I agree with the idea that they do it so much, for sure. Once a day is plenty. But they say that most of it has to be done opt-in. And they probably have like a little pop-up that says, do you agree to doing this thing? And then you just click yes, and then it does it. But they don't tell you what that thing is, I don't think.
Well, I haven't used the newer version ever since I found out it was sending data. The one in the repository for Debian doesn't do that. There's a breaking point of version 3.0.1.
Wait, so you're saying that Debian has 3.0.1
or lower?
Right, but what does Debian have?
They have the older version of Audacity before.
Well, that makes sense because it's Debian. I just had to put that joke out there because it's Debian.
Yeah, but it always works.
No, definitely not. Because then you have hardware that it doesn't support because it's super old.
You can get stuff to support it. I mean, I got modern NVIDIA card and stuff installed.
Yeah, but you probably need SID or something. And that's the opposite of Debian.
No, Debian's come a long ways.
No, the whole concept of Debian is stable. The Debian stable is its purpose. And if you use SID, you're defeating the point of Debian. But that doesn't matter. The Audacity stuff is interesting because of I agree that certain parts are terrible, but they're also improving Audacity, which is kind of weird how I it is better than it was, and at the same time, they are kind of messing it up. Although I only use the one in Fedora, and Fedora ships the telemetry removed, so I like that.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but it's hard to.
Repositories are aware of this. I mean, if you get it from a any distro repository, it probably doesn't have the telemetry in it. But if you get the one from FlatHub, it does ping something out there every 45 seconds.
I don't know what to tell you.
I'm just stating the facts as I see them.
Yeah.
And
There's
it
a
pings it
port-
while the app is running, right? Not when it's off.
Yeah, only when it's running.
Only when it's running.
Yeah. And also, there are forks of it like Tenacity. But I mean, you know, it's funny. A lot of people talk about how Audacity is kind of like not, people shouldn't use it or anything. But for a long time, I used Audacity for like the super basic functions of just recording audio and that's it. And when I became a podcaster, I started learning more about audio and sound engineering and stuff like that. And Audacity is really impressive for what it is. And the fact that like an open source project for being around as long as it is, it's very impressive what they got to, you know, at least prior to the telemetry part, but still.
Yeah, it's really good for actually cleaning up vinyl records rips.
Nice.
You get the pops and the clicks and everything out of them.
That's cool. That's very cool. Do they have a is there a vinyl record preset?
Not kind of, sort of, but not exactly. But there, you can select like a window that's got a big spike in it, and it'll take the spike out and seamlessly put it together without the spike, and you don't notice it when you play it back.
I wonder if like there's some sort of a like inverts inverts the sound so it only eliminates that piece of it and not getting rid of the rest of the audio that's in there.
Kind of something like that. You can select a like if you got a big spike from a scratch in the record that shows up, you just select a little window and it removes the spike and puts it back together evenly. And you don't really notice anything's even missing unless it's a big scratch, you know, and you got to do some serious damage control.
Right.
That's cool.
All right. So
speaking of productivity timers.
So I wanted to ask the class, the Saloon, how do you, or how, like if you're behind the computer a lot, like I'm assuming a lot of people here are behind the computer quite a bit and do some sort of work that is facing the computer. How necessary is it for you to track your time of what you're doing?
For me, it's not necessary at all. If I want to stop, I just stop and put the computer to sleep. I go to sleep too.
That's fair.
I think it's important to track time because I don't really track time. I could be here for hours, to be honest, especially when you're recording and then editing video and whatever. Every now and then I get up and go for a walk into the kitchen or whatever it may be, but you just don't know how often you're doing it, though. That's the thing. So I think these apps are not too bad, these time apps. Solanum, I thought, was probably the best one as well. Very simple, tells you when to take a break, tells you when your break's over. I thought that was probably one of the best ones of them all. Timecop, I was disappointed because it didn't have a picture of Jean-Claude Van Damme in it, so that was a bit disappointing.
That is legit the reason why I suggested it in the first place, because it was named Timecop. I was like, yes. And I was surprised that it was pretty good. I do like Timecop. It is good.
It's not bad, actually, because you can put, I suppose it depends. I think they all have their own little way of, I think it depends on how you want to use your time. If definitely people said if you're charging for time for doing things, then you can probably, you know, extract some of that information, especially from Timecop, and you can put down what it was you're working on, which is a great idea. Flowtime has all the stats there for you, so that's interesting as well. And I think it just depends how you want to use it. They all have their place, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
I think I think Timecop is great, except for the fact that I think I like the idea of keeping track of certain projects, but I also know that I will probably not keep up with that task of doing so. So I will more likely use the least barrier thing, which is Solanum. And I think that one is, it's not as, I prefer Timecop. I think it's best of these three. But Solanum is you open it, you click the button, and you're started, and that's it. Whereas Timecop, you click the button, then you start typing what you're doing, and you click the button again. Because the one thing I do that does annoy me about Timecop is that when I'm done and I press enter, it doesn't start the clock. You have to move the mouse over and click it.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, wasn't it? I have to say. Yeah.
Like I wish it was more intuitive in that sense, but it's still a great application for those who want to do it. And Chronos is kind of like a merge of Timecop plus Flowtime. So it keeps track of stuff and it's much more simplistic, and you just type in what you're working on and click enter and it goes, and that's it. So it's kind of a hybrid of the two. And it also has exporting to CSV, which is nice.
Yeah, I think when it comes to these time apps, I don't think you want another task or another, like you said, another barrier to do things when you've already got tasks to do. So that can just add to it, I suppose. But I suppose it depends. It comes down to how disciplined you are, and I suppose if you need the information, you're going to have to take the time out.
I think the UI for Timecop is probably more for mobile, and for desktop is a little clunky. But if you're using it on some kind of tablet, then it should work pretty good then.
I do have one thing that I forgot to mention last week that people, I don't know if you'd be able to test it because it's not in a Flatpak, but Rsi Break is an application that is made by KDE, and it is the purpose of to make you, like, to force you to make you take a break from your computer. It's kind of like the Pomodoro thing where it reminds you, but not really remind you. So you can set it where it locks your computer and you cannot use your computer for whatever given amount of time you want it to do. And
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool idea. And I have tried it, and it is great because it is also frustrating because it will not let you use your computer for whatever you put it on.
It's
I don't
almost
think
scary.
I would like that.
I don't think I would either.
It's good. It actually, if your break is still at your computer, you're not really taking a break, right? So let's say you take a break and you just start, looking at a video on YouTube or something for 5 minutes. You haven't really taken a break from the setting that you're in. Whereas the RSI break is more of like, get up and do something else, anything else,
And then the RSI breaks and you can't get back into your computer.
It's KDE. It doesn't break. What are you talking about?
Everything breaks eventually.
Nope. KDE has always been solid. There's never been an issue. Let's not talk about the
Can
issue
you
that I
drop it out with a reboot?
It's absolutely impervious.
Yeah, I mean, you can disconnect it if you want to, and there is a way to bypass it if you insist. But it will take over your computer and say, "Hey, you can't do this anymore." However, you can bypass it if you want.
Okay, no Cyberdyne systems on my computer, thank you.
I'm in a game. I just pulled out my sword. My computer says I have to take a break.
Well, no, you can make it where it's not doing it in certain applications too. It's not that bad. Anyway, it's a cool app people should look at.
I feel like that's something that you would use.
I have used it.
If you had like a lack of discipline.
Yeah.
Like
So the problem with that with me is I have too many computers. So I can lock myself out of one and just go use another. I mean, I'm sitting right here. I'm like Mark. I've got like 50 monitors in my room. Okay, 7. And then I have 1, 2, 3 Macs and a couple desktops and some laptops.
I think that's fine. If you're using a different computer, it's still making you forced to break whatever you're doing at that time, and turning or doing something. I think that still counts. Yeah, it still counts.
I've never used a time management thing other than like, clocking and clocking out at work or something like that, that type of thing.
Mhm.
I mean, even when I was working with the bank and I had no schedule, I had, made my own hours. I would get up myself. That's why I bought the sit stand desk, just so I can, sit and stand obviously and split it up during work. But I would also take every 2 hours or so, I would go out for a 15-minute walk. Now, granted, I probably won't do that nowadays because it's 110 degrees outside. But I would go out and stretch and take a quick, 15-minute walk, do a loop around the neighborhood or whatever, just to get some fresh air, get away from the computer. But I don't think I'd ever use an app to do that. I mean, it's just my personal opinion, my personal preference, I guess.
I think it's a productivity concept of people who have different personalities, and like for me, I benefit from having the counterintuitive distraction on purpose, because the Pomodoro kind of thing is sort of a distraction method too, because it kind of pulls you out of the thing you're doing. And sometimes you want to keep working on it, but sometimes you still need to take a break. And I have a problem of being distracted when I don't want to. So I just randomly go off into nonsense and be distracted. And then this application, at the very least, would give me 25 minutes of maximum distractedness before it pings and says, hey, get back to doing whatever you're doing. Like at least there's, like, for some people that's beneficial, and other people they can, make themselves be less distracted, or they can keep themselves on a timer.
This is my distraction right here.
Yes, I believe
her and the little, you can't see her, she's off screen a little bit there, but I have 10 cats. They're my distractions. They always,
that's their sole purpose.
Yes. Absolutely. They'd love to get right on the computer. I have one cat that likes to lay across 2 or 3 keyboards at one time just to make sure I can't use any of them.
Yep.
There's a
so you do
distraction.
have an RSI break.
And it locks you out.
It does lock you out.
Yep. And then they get a swat when you try to move them. You get little, cut and stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
That's called a demon.
That's called a ginger. That'd be her.
Yep. That does look like a demon.
There are some cultures that do think cats are demons.
And then there are some cultures that think cats are gods.
Yeah.
But there's also other cultures that are correct and think that they're demons.
All I know is my cat tries to steal my cheese all the time, and it's insane.
I have a cat that steals donuts. Whatever sweet thing that you have. Like I had one time, I had a donut, like just like a last bite of donut between my fingers. I had out like that, just off to the side. The next thing I know, she comes in. I've never seen a cat eat a donut before.
I have a cat that likes to kill small mammals and put them on my doorstep, or parts of them.
That's what cats are supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. That's what cats are supposed to do when they're outdoor cats. My cats, we had a mouse in our house one time. One mouse since I've had the cats. At the time, we only had the 4 cats. We didn't have the full 10. And the mouse actually chased the cats because, they were, one, they'd never actually even seen a mouse before, so it took them a little bit to figure out what they're supposed to do with it. And 2, they weren't actually hungry, so they weren't going to kill it. So, but once it actually chased them, then the defense mechanism came in and they killed it, but they didn't eat it. I just had to throw it out. But it was hilarious to see, 2-year-old cats running from a little tiny mouse.
You're supposed to get them a toy mouse to show them what it is and let them chase the toy around to get the idea.
They have plenty of toy mice. They're just cat crack ones, the catnip ones. So they get high and get lazy.
It's too much.
Well, it's fun.
Okay.
Every day in my house is catertainment day. It's nonstop fun, especially with 3 kittens. They're almost a year old now, though.
All right, so to kind of wrap up this talk on the time management apps.
And cats.
We've wrapped that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's about time.
In a ball of yarn. Do you foresee yourself using a time management app like this, the Pomodoro technique, like from this point forward, or does this set you off on a path to explore other applications that are related, or where do you see this going, Colin? Do you see yourself using something like this, or for you and your time in front of your computer?
No, and the reason why is because computing is not my full-time job.
Okay.
I work in a warehouse and so forth, so do a little bit of computer at work. I do sort of bits of computer, bits of hands-on, but this is my hobby at home, although you probably still need a break, which I still do. But if I was on a computer full-time, yeah, I could see it'd be beneficial for sure. But just for weekend stuff for me and during the week, I wouldn't probably need one, I don't think.
Okay. What about you, Shickle? Is this something, do you spend enough time on your computer these days that warrant something like this?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I don't think I do. No. I get a notification every now and then, and my phone says, "Hey, you've used your phone 6% more today than yesterday," or whatever, and I'm like, "Okay, cool," and then I keep going.
That's fair. Eris, how about you? Do you see this affecting how you work on your computer?
I don't think I would use it. I might use Timecop if it wasn't so phone or tablet centric to the UI. I think I would use that one more if it was more suited to desktop. And then the Pomodoro, I don't think I would do Pomodoro.
Dan, would you see yourself using something like this going forward?
For myself, no, I'm retired. I'm not having my time managed anymore by anybody. So I can understand because once I did have to work and stuff like that. And yes, if you're producing something with a computer, you would need some tools to manage that time and maybe take your breaks and stuff like that. So I can see people that use computers needing something like this. Me, my computer's my toy, and there's sometimes I play with it all week, and there's sometimes I got to go out and do other things. So I don't see it that much.
Okay, that's fair.
It's also, my computer's also my TV set.
Same.
Yeah, same, essentially. I have computers hooked up to TVs in my house for media consumption at times.
No, I mean, it is my TV set. I don't use my TV in my living room anymore. If I want to watch something, I grab one of these notebook computers and stream something.
You're like one of my kids. Mm-hmm. They grab a small thing to sit in front of as opposed to watching it on the big screen.
Well, if I watch it on the big screen, it's at a distance, and then I got to put these on. But I can see the length of my hand just fine.
Oh, okay.
In the wintertime, it's nice to just snuggle up on the couch under the blanket with a nice warm laptop, and watch and stream a show or something like that. You're not turning on a big power hungry TV, and the battery in the laptop lasts 4 or 5 hours.
I've never thought of snuggling up with a laptop before, but okay, I'm good with that.
You get a laptop, hot cocoa, and a blanket. You're golden.
Yeah, if maybe you could get a case for your laptop that's like a plushie. That'd be the thing to do right there.
You must not have cats, because if you have a cat, you won't have a laptop left. You won't be able to see your laptop.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't have any animals.
Servan, you said you've used Pomodoro apps in the past. Do you need something like this for time management today?
Not right now. I don't think my workflow needs time management, but probably I need something for me to remind me to stay off screens in general, like not only laptop, phone, whatever, tablet. I think that's more important for me than using a time management app. I think I use my time pretty well, but something to remind me or constantly stay on my back to not use screens, which is very hard because, again, as you guys, I use my computer for TV. I use my computer for everything. I use computer for work. Not most of the times, but again, I have to write code, I have to do data analysis, everything on my computer, write papers, write my thesis. Everything is done on the computer. But I think for me, more important thing is stop using phone, stop using computer, when not needed, do other things to relax. But I have to get better at it slowly.
That's understandable. I think we all could probably use maybe a little less screen time. When I go outside, it's actually really in HD resolution, I've noticed. And so that's really cool, the outdoors.
It's in ultra HD.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I went outside one time and it blew my mind.
The 3D was so real.
Outside scary.
I actually started reading a book in order to get rid of as a policy and sort of get it off the computer. And I always thought, like, why would I get a book when I could just get an ebook and have thousands of things? And it totally is better to read a book. I'm not going to be like the person to like, hey, paper is better or whatever. It's just the separation between doing something that's not on a device is very nice. So I've been doing that quite a bit.
Well, last Sunday, since I had a 3-day weekend with the 4th, I sat at the picnic bench in our backyard, had the laptop out, my Bluetooth speaker playing music. I had a campfire going and having a nice couple of beers. And it was a beautiful night.
Yeah, I would say
Nice.
it's really good to have analog fun as well, I find. And the book thing, I have lots of books, and I have a thing about books that could be a show in and of itself, but only interesting to me. But I find that I'm more apt to read a book if I have it on my Paperwhite Kindle than real books or like reading a book on a phone. It's actually the Paperwhite to me is probably the best book experience. However, I will say there's nothing replaces like when I sit with my kids and I read those big glossy page books, that have that are full color and text and that are like
right,
very artistic, whatever. I really like
The
those a
ones
lot.
where if you like drag your nails across them, they kind of make that nice feel.
Well, I don't like to drag my nails
the
across anything.
embossed stuff.
Or
You're
That's
talking
a
about
new
the
one to me,
embossed stuff
Shickle.
where they
That's
kind of stick
definitely
off
a
the
new one.
page.
oh yeah. I know that.
I like
So it's
fuzzy stuff.
Or I have several Calvin and Hobbes comic books. There's something really enjoyable about comic books as opposed to on
I
a
love
digital
comic
form.
books.
Yeah, or you probably like
Agreed.
graphic novels.
Reading an actual comic book is 1,000 different than a comic book on a tablet or something.
Yeah, I've tried
So much
reading on the
better.
tablet, and I don't enjoy that at all. It's not a good experience for me. But yeah, on
Same.
a real book, I find comic book there's something glorious about it.
Mhm.
But
You get to experience the art fully rather
Yeah.
than a digital picture that you could just, search online and find a bunch of cool pictures.
yeah, there's something to be said for that for sure.
So I think we've all kind of got to the point where the consensus is time management is good to stop yourself from using your computer.
Yes.
Yes.
But why would you want to stop yourself from using the computer?
Because too much of a good thing can become a bad thing.
What's a
Yes.
computer?
But I mean, everything nowadays is basically a computer. I mean, everything is like becoming a smart device. Watches,
Yes, but a
cell
lot of things
phones,
should
fridges.
not be. None of
Yes.
those should be smart devices. Those are nonsense, and they need to stop it.
I agree. I mean, my brother-in-law
Crock-pot.
has a freaking stove that he can control with his phone.
I don't think
Well,
controlling
all
something.
I'm saying is you haven't lived until you can knock on your fridge and see inside of it. Okay.
That's not so crazy.
Why
Well, I
would
can
you need
do
to
that.
knock on it when he can just open the stupid door?
Yeah, I still haven't figured that out. I'm not gonna lie, but it makes me laugh every
That's
time.
looking at it without letting the cold out.
Yeah.
Yes,
Letting
but
the cold
that's-
out is fun.
So
I can just hear my son right now if I tell him I'm going to put time management apps on his computers.
Oh, put that one that locks him out for a time. He'd love that.
Oh my God.
well, I like time
I'd bring him
management
down
apps.
here and ask him, but I think we get some expletive deletives that wouldn't go well.
Yeah.
You could probably skip that
Well,
then.
Yeah.
just get a recording of it and show it on your stream.
That'd be
So
fun.
I like time management apps, but I do also prefer to not like to use them as a way of not using the computer and more about taking breaks. Like Pomodoro apps are something I've been using for I think a decade now when I first found what it was called. And also kind of funny, I didn't know a Pomodoro was a tomato until like 5 years after I started doing the technique. And then I saw a clock that said Pomodoro clock and it was a tomato shape. And I'm like, why a tomato? And then I figured it out like, oh,
Well, see, I just learned something new then because I had no idea that
Yep.
was a tomato.
Pomodoro is a type of tomato, and it was named after that particular tomato. The technique was named after it. I don't remember why, but I'm pretty sure it's just because.
Why not?
Like, there is no actual. I don't think there actually is a reason why they chose it. It was just because they wanted to.
Probably because
because they thought those tomatoes are tasties.
Or it kind of flows right. Pomodoro technique. It sounds fancy.
It does.
Yeah, there you go. You put the pinky out and everything when you say it.
Pomodoro.
And if they would have chosen something like beefsteak, it just wouldn't have gone over as well.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been as great. Or poutine wouldn't
Roma.
have worked as well.
Those are the tomatoes that all turn ripe at the same time.
The beefsteak.
Is that
Roma.
Tomatoes.
No, that's just
Tomatoes.
a guess.
I got a pizza over here. It's covered in tomatoes.
In Pomodoro?
Roma, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, very cool. So,
I
Michael,
got
does that mean that
chicken, peppers, and tomato?
delicious?
I'm looking it up, and the Wikipedia has no answer for why it's called Pomodoro.
That's all right. Sometimes a mystery is a fun thing. So, Michael, you say you're going to.
I'm okay with there not being an answer for that.
Yeah. You're going to continue to use some sort
is
of.
that Italian for tomato? Is that so? They say
No,
tomato,
it's a type,
tomato.
It's a type of tomato. No.
Well, no,
Well,
I'm looking at the chat here. Somebody's saying that, according to the translator, it's Pomodoro is just Italian for tomato.
Yeah, but why they chose that is the question.
On the wiki page, it's got a Pomodoro kitchen timer that's in the shape of a tomato.
Yes, but that was created after the fact.
Oh, was it? Oh.
That's the joke about like when I found that it was a tomato is because I found one of those things online somewhere.
I do like the idea of somebody just like having a picture of a tomato and then just being like, what if I created an entire like time tracking app?
Exactly.
Just because
what if I made my time tracking system off of this tomato.
Off of my favorite tomato.
And I'm gonna just use a term that sounds cool, but not tomato, because I don't want people to be like, is it tomato or tomato? No, it's Pomodoro. Okay.
Well, who's gonna use an app that's called Tomato? I mean, come on.
I probably would.
There's literally ones called Tomato Timer. They're not even bothering to use the actual term.
An app is only good if it's called Tomato if it's Rotten Tomatoes.
There you go. There you go. But anyway, back to Nate, what you're saying. I do continue to use time trackers, but I never find one that exactly is what I want because I don't know what I want. So until I find that, whatever, I keep jumping around. But I like a lot of stuff about Timecop, and I also like the very simplicity of the Solanum. And I'm going to keep calling it Solanum forever until I get corrected by the developer.
Well, very cool. Anybody else have anything they wanted to chime in on that before we close it out?
I think we've pretty much beat that one down.
Now tomato paste.
It's now
Nice.
Pomodoro paste.
We have now made ketchup. I like it.
All right, good deal. So,
marinara sauce. Ooh,
if
we need
you
to make
have-
a technique called the marinara.
So where you blend all of your projects together.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have any distribution
goodness.
or application exploration suggestions, send them to suggestions@linuxsaloon.com, or you can tag distro exploration or distro application exploration or application appetizer in Telegram, Matrix, or Discord or you can open up a thread in the Discourse forum for suggestions for what we should explore in the future. Maybe it's something you're working on. Chickle, what are you working on, Chickle?
I'm working on trying to so I broke my backup server and I thought, you know what, let's do it again. Which I probably will break it again, but I have been working on trying to create a system. So I'm using Tailscale to link everything as I normally do. But I'm trying to create a system that allows me to sort of like, if something is not connected through Tailscale, like I can't access it, and that's a problem. So I'm creating a system that will try and automatically detect whether it's working properly. And then if it's not, either restart the service, or if there's no like important services running, restart the entire server all automatically. So that's my current project, and I'm probably not doing it in the most efficient way, but I'm doing it.
That's what matters.
That's what matters. It's getting done.
I mean, I like the idea. Are there any projects that are similar to that out there already?
Honestly, that probably would help me if I had looked. There's probably actually a thing that does that.
Research. I wonder if that might help.
Maybe.
Right,
I'm
so
doing it all
doggies.
through
Get 'em.
like systemd services and stuff. So basically, like that's how I sort of track what's running and what's important and what's not. So like my backup system is all triggered by systemd and tracked by systemd. So that way, like the server will never like reboot if that's running. It'll wait until after it's done running, things like that. So
Do you also have an offsite backup?
I do. I have 3, thank gosh.
Okay, good. Okay, just check.
3 offsite backups.
Yeah, no, I don't actually need 3 offsite backups. I'm not gonna lie to you. Most of it is just like redundant stuff that I don't actually need. I just like kind of fiddling with stuff, and it creates problems for me to solve.
Well, it's never a bad thing to have backups for your backups for your backups. Now, of course, I learned this the hard way. You know, my brother and I lost all our data in a house fire. And at the time, this is years ago. This is way before like all the cloud services and all that stuff started up. But but we could have had an offsite still. We could have had everything backed up to a hard drive and stored offsite somewhere, like at the sister's house or whatever. But we've learned our lesson since then. So we have backups for backups for backups. I think I have my backups on 4 different hard drives and 3 different cloud services.
But the problem with having backups at your family's house is you go see your family. Oh God.
Yeah. Well, my sister, yes, because she cooks.
Oh, okay. You got a bonus there. Okay, never mind.
You see, weirdly, I actually like all my family. I think they're like we have our family reunions in the summertime, and I
Rare.
always look forward to it. I know it's rare, but they're all actually pretty cool.
Nice.
Did they put something in your water?
Joking.
Well, I think what it has is like, since I like everybody, and like there's no one that I think is a person of ill repute. No one irritates me. That means I'm probably the irritating person.
I wish I could say the same thing, but then I have those cousins. Those cousins. You know, we're not gonna get into detail, but those cousins.
We all have one of those.
I have a question that I
Except
think
Nate.
is for
Nate
Michael.
doesn't.
I am that
What's
person.
that?
So I use SSH to get around pretty much always. I hate typing and remembering addresses, and all of my addresses are static because of Tailscale. Can you just like nickname via SSH? Can I just name something so I don't have to do that?
Yes.
Yeah, the
Can do that,
SSH
yes.
config.
Oh my
Is-
God.
So
I'll
just
send you mine.
look up
Oh.
SSH config. You put a file called config in the .ssh folder, and you can do this on your Macs too, by the way. And you can,
And Windows too.
yeah, and Windows.
You can set it as short as a single character if you want to.
Thank God. Oh, this is great. I don't know.
And you can link to your various keys and that key files, and that way you can have different keys. And you put that in, put the keys all in your config file, then you never have to type all that stuff out.
And you can even say whether to enable X11 forwarding or not in the config file itself. Like you don't need to type SSH XY or whatever. You just can say forward X11 yes. And you can do proxy jump. You can do a whole bunch of things in SSH config.
Ooh. Oh, this is
You guys just
great.
gave Chickle something else to
SSH
break.
is a awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly
The
what just
wheels are a
happened.
turning.
I use my Pi-hole for for my nicknames for everything. It actually, if I SSH whatever device, it looks up the DNS record on my Pi-hole. I don't know if that's cheating. I didn't know about SSH config, but then I just
if
have
you
it.
do
works, it
dynamic
works.
DNS, so if your IP's changed, dynamic DNS is a fantastic solution for that sort of thing. So I use that all the time. I used to use it way more. Now that I have static IPs, I just use those. But dynamic DNS, or sometimes you'll see DIN DNS, is a fantastic method to compensate for moving IPs.
That is cool. So many things you can do with your pieces of technology.
It's very powerful, incredibly frustrating at times, but very powerful.
So true. Okay.
Probably more frustrating than not, though. Let's be real.
So Nate, should we talk about next week?
Yes, let's.
All right. So on the docket for next week will be News Flight. We get them from some guy here. I don't know what the.
Yeah, that guy's just a jerk.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
I think he's,
Storyteller, maybe.
I think he's a handsome man.
Agreed. I can agree with that. He's a jerk, but he's handsome. For those who
But
don't
we'll
know.
cover some of the topics in the news next week and have some discussions on them.
And if you have any pieces of news that you want to talk about, send them to me ahead of time, either through email or Telegram, wherever, and I'll put them into the show notes ahead of time, and we can bring those up. We'll even prioritize those. No offense, Michael.
Offense taken. Not really. I mean, I send you news every week, so it's and you don't always get to it, and sometimes it's my fault that you don't get to it. Like for this week, I kept talking, just like right now.
That's right. I did want to get to.
Well, at least you're not talking about cats.
I did want to get to at least
what
one
cats?
topic.
Well, guess what?
In fact, I'm actually impressed. Like last time I looked at the clock, we had plenty of time, so I'm not really sure what happened, but the time went away. So I do want to get to the news.
That would be Michael.
But literally, I didn't look at my clock. Like the last time I looked at the clock, it's like we had a time warp, like an episode of Star Trek or
I
something.
thought you were using Solanum.
It's on
What
that
happened?
computer, not on this one. It's on that one.
We needed a time cop for this conversation.
It's actually not a bad idea.
And this is why time has gone by so fast because we can't get to anything.
Apparently,
All
we
right.
had a time bomb for this one.
So, real quick, it's time for us to muddle through the Linux news. As always, a big thank you to you, Michael, from This Week in Linux, for mixing up a
You're
great
welcome.
flight of topics. And I wanted to get to something that I thought was very interesting. Of all the topics, it's the drama news. Not that I'm a big drama person, but this I thought was a really interesting topic. So
I love drama.
So you can obviously you're more of an authority on this since I'm reading it for the first time this evening. But Leonard Pottering, Pottering?
Sure.
He has left Red Hat and has gone to Microsoft. And I think that is pretty incredible. Does anybody know what his contributions are to Linux and the open source? Michael, don't answer that question.
I know.
Oh, he's absolutely destroyed everything we value. That's what it is.
Okay, Schickel,
Okay.
where's the band hammer?
So we know at least Schickel is aware of the trolling parts of this particular case.
Of course.
So things that he's done.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, he's done a ton of stuff, and a lot of the things he's not known for. He's known for one, which is systemd.
Well, he's known for two.
Well, a lot of people are not aware of the other ones. Most people are just aware of systemd, and that's one. And there's the whole controversy over that. He's also known for Pulse Audio. He does not work on Pulse Audio, and he hasn't for a long time, but he did create the project and start it up, and also Avahi networking. So he's been a part of a lot of different projects, and those three are probably the biggest and have the biggest impact on the Linux ecosystem.
And
I
I
used to blame for all of our audio issues. Gotcha.
No.
well, if you've used
You have
audio in
never
Linux,
used before Pulse existed.
yeah, it was painful.
Ouch.
Yeah, there was so
Wait,
much
you guys
work.
have audio?
Also is great as an underlying basis, but using it as the only option, that was not fun.
I mean, it worked, but you had like no control. Essentially, it was very frustrating.
Yeah.
So you had multiple audio
had
devices.
control, but you either had no control in certain cases and so much control that it would give you 50 different items to choose from and no actual indication of what these devices were or anything. So you had like this weird flip of a coin where you get a lot of value and it's thrown in your face, or you get none at all.
Right.
So Pulse was an improvement for sure.
I don't really know Avahi. I've seen it a lot, but I'm not really sure what that is. Is it for like discovery, like where services discover each other? Okay.
Discovering network management and stuff like that, and it does more than that. It's a kind of a underlying network management tool. it's pretty much used everywhere.
So although there was not a reason given for why Leonard left Red Hat, Michael, you think that there are some reasons that he did?
No, there's no actual indication of why. My guesses are related to the fact that he's received an, in my opinion, an unsurmountable amount of hate and vitriol thrown at him. And at that point, why even care what the community thinks? So going to Microsoft, people were like, "Oh, you're going to Microsoft, you're selling out," or "Oh, like see proof that he was always a puppet," or whatever. Like all these nonsense people. I've seen comments in various different articles that are just hate and vitriol. And it's just a fantastic example of this is why no one cares what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just spread hate and vitriol, no one's listening. Like it doesn't matter anymore. Like who cares? Like, and yeah, if that's why he's doesn't care anymore, understandable, totally reasonable.
Yep. Well, maybe he's going to Microsoft, so we're going to see MS Linux and.
Well, they already have multiple Linux different distros, but my opinion is that they're just hiring him to continue to work on Linux stuff. Like I think he'll still be working on Systemd. I don't think much is going to be changing other than the fact that who's paying him. And partly the reason I believe that is because he's kind of created a resume to the point where he can work wherever he wants and probably do whatever he wants where he works.
Yep.
I think it's pretty amazing that Red Hat would just let him work on whatever project he wanted. Like, I have an idea that it's Pulse Audio, and there we go. It happens.
Yep. Same thing happened with Systemd. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I thought I read someplace, and I don't want to say a mistruth here, so fact check me, but I thought for a while there, they actually had to have security escort him for a while because of concerns about his well-being.
I don't know for sure, but I have heard that as well.
It wouldn't surprise me. People are idiots.
I don't know if if that was just a rumor or if that actually was a thing.
The amount of hatred about Systemd is it's so bad it's stupid. Like it just now makes me feel like we have a significant amount of the community that is hopeless. Not significant. I wouldn't say significant because they're just very loud.
But
you know how the whole thing about
usually the people that hate are usually the loudest.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's a lot. I would say percentage wise, we have like 95% fantastic community, and then 5% are just super loud and have megaphones.
And those are the people. And go ahead, Nate.
No, if you finish your statement.
I was gonna say, and those are the people like when I first started out in the community that that's what you saw first.
Yeah.
You're saying that because they're super loud.
Because you get the clicks.
And then it's horrible. I mean, I don't understand the whole concept. The concept of hate in general doesn't make sense to me. It's just wastes too much energy.
Hating someone for making free software that helps the ecosystem.
I'm just talking about hate in general. I'm not even talking about Linux. I'm just saying hate in general just costs too much energy to even bother with.
Oh, I agree with that too. I just think these people need a hug, and that's what it is. And
but they'll hate the hug.
They will probably hate the hug, but then they'll learn to love it.
Best I can do is a hug.
Or if not a hug, we'll just give high fives, and then that's or fist bumps.
Fist bump.
Whatever.
Yeah, but there's people out there that just like to hate for the sake of hating. They want to. They love the controversy.
Yeah,
that's their whole goal in life is to start up a dust storm.
They're instigators.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And for people saying like Systemd is blurred, can you guess what's the install size of Systemd? Like on an Arch system? Just a vague guess what the install size is.
What is it?
I'm asking you to guess. Anyone?
200 megs.
No.
256K.
Nope. 27 megabytes.
That's nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing.
And people say it's bloat. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah, that's nothing.
Don't even talk about bloat if it's 27 megabytes.
Well, also the thing I hate about it is all these comments I saw about the anti-Lenart for this Microsoft thing was mostly like just nonsense, ridiculous, worthless comments. But there were some times when people would comment and say something that was hilarious to me, and that was saying like, "Oh, he was this monolithic developer, and he only worked on monolithic projects." And it makes me laugh of how dumb of a statement that is, because Systemd was made for Linux. Guess what type of kernel Linux is? That's right, monolithic. Good job.
But
So anybody who hates on Systemd for being monolithic should also not be using Linux, because the same thing. It's just, what's the point?
well, Systemd isn't really monolithic. There's modules you can add and take away from it. As with the kernel, you can add and remove modules. So it's not really monolithic in the strictest of sense. It's more of a hybrid.
Yeah, neither one of them are really technically monolithic, but also in the basics of what that term means in terms of programming, they both classify as monolithic, because a microkernel, for example, would be the alternative to a monolithic kernel. And you can also do modules to still be a more not fully monolithic approach. But that doesn't help the rhetoric of the vitriol. So.
And they say it's not Unix philosophy. And again, the same thing with kernel. It's the same thing. Like, you hate one thing, and the other thing is like, you don't have logic for your hate.
So
Yeah.
I agree with that, but also in the comments we got like, people don't really think, like, people don't know exactly what Systemd does. It does way more than just an init system. Like, it is a lot more things. It has a journaling system, a scheduling system. Like, it is very useful in what it does. Not everybody likes it, and that's fine. If they want to use OpenRC, that's great. Use it. But that doesn't mean that Leonard is destroying the ecosystem because he made an alternative, and that other distros just happen to like that alternative. And also, that's the whole idea of like Debian. Debian chose Systemd, and people were not mad at Debian, they were mad at Systemd. Like, they made the choice. And even Ubuntu had nothing to do with that choice. The people who were a part of Debian from Ubuntu chose to not vote on that decision. And yet it still was Systemd, because the competitor of Systemd was Upstart, which Canonical made, and they didn't want to, skew the votes. So when they didn't skew the votes and the votes became the thing that people didn't like, it would have also resulted in people hating Upstart because Canonical made it. Like, there is no making those people happy. They're just, it's a lose-lose situation. But I also want to point out that comment this one said about the Unix philosophy. I hate that philosophy, because yeah, it was fantastic in the 70s when it was made, but it doesn't apply anymore. We don't have to worry about making one thing and do it well, because we have computers like a Raspberry Pi that can do 50,000 things at once.
Yeah.
It's like when you compare the whole 1960s mainframe computers, there's like one photo, or I forgot where they showed a photo of someone standing outside of this in this alleyway in like New York, and it shows an old-timey photo of a mainframe computer being moved into this building, and then someone standing on the other side with a Raspberry Pi holding it up, and the Raspberry Pi was more powerful. It's like, that's a great example of where that philosophy comes from.
And an example, I'm trying to build Chromium on my Raspberry Pi. It's not going well, but I'll try.
Is that you
why
doing
not?
one thing
Why
well,
not?
build software? Yeah, I think it's interesting how there's so much visceral hate toward Leonard, and really he's done, the Systemd thing is a great thing, really. There were a lot of unmaintained modules, the sysv init modules, and so the whole move to Systemd kind of pulled all these things together that were made a lot quicker on boot up, and it really made Linux a lot better. And I think it's silly people would be upset about that. And I think that also kind of goes into the Linux Saloon philosophy of, don't poo-poo on somebody else's project, and also don't threaten their lives.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to say that part, though.
Yes. You should not have to say that.
No.
I agree. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's
Also, by the way,
ridiculous.
I don't know how I phrased the Unix philosophy thing. I don't hate the philosophy or the people who made it. I think it was fantastic for the 70s. It just doesn't apply anymore. So I want to clarify because I don't remember exactly how I said it.
Well, all right. So we are at the end of our time here. In fact, we're overtime, and I have kids finding me to complain to me that it's time for bed. So I want to. So Mark, you have the Atlanta Linux Users Group. Is that going on tomorrow? I ask you the same
Yes,
question every time, and I know the answer is always yes. So if I should word that differently, please do. do tell me.
It's fine. So the Atlanta Linux enthusiasts, you can find more information about that at ale.org. We meet every Sunday, U.S. Eastern, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And there is no set agenda. It's it's time to help users out with problems they may have, and of course sometimes you got to drive your own questions and make sure you get what you're expecting out of it. But yeah, join us if you want to. L.org will get you to the meeting notice. That's about it. We're online. We used to meet in person, but we've been online for a couple of years now because of COVID, and that's just working out great. So even if you're not in the U.S. Georgia area, you're welcome to join us and get help to your Linux questions.
And be a fellow enthusiast. That's good. Steve.
Yes.
You normally have a show on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern.
Central.
Or
Eastern,
8 a.m.
yeah,
Central.
Eastern.
Yep. Or 8 a.m. Central for those that don't live in the civilized part of the world. So what is there a show tomorrow? And do you have any idea what your topic's going to be?
I think the way the week has gone, I'm going to just maybe kind of have a chat talk. I was just thinking, since it's sometimes a concern, I've been finding these music, like royalty-free music things to use on your stream and that, and maybe we'll see if we'll play some music and that's royalty-free, and we'll see if we get a copyright strike or something.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Good band.
Yeah.
Well, excellent.
But yeah, just I think at this point it's just going to be a kind of a chat thing tomorrow.
Oh, good. Chats are good. I like that. Well, so I look forward to that. Every Sunday morning I have you on, and sometimes sometimes I will say, Steve, my kids do complain because they want to watch something else, but I always insist that we watch you. So.
Well, thank you.
I like how someone said it's with the Steve, it's Central time.
Central time. Leviticus. I got to meet Leviticus live in real life at Self. That was fun. Michael, tomorrow, is there going to be a Destination Linux?
Yes, there is, as there always is most of the time, almost always, except for when we go to scale, there won't be. But tomorrow there will be. And we're going to be doing live 1 p.m. US Eastern. We're going to be talking about all the ridiculous amount of Linux laptops that came out this week. Like it just seemed excessive how many came out this week. So we're going to talk about all of them in a big group, and we're going to basically do like a hardware addicts but Destination Linux style. And we're going to have a special guest with Wendy joining us to talk about the laptops as well. So it's going to be more so hardware addicts than you would expect it to be, because we're going to have all three of us there from hardware addicts onto it. And then we're also going to have Wendy talk about Darktable. So I'm excited about that because I get to learn about a really cool application from someone who uses it as a professional.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to that. That's part of my afternoon snacking of digital snacking, I should say. So Linux User Space, they are recording again. They have made some changes. So check out their latest episode. I believe it's released tomorrow for the masses. And Linux Out Loud.
It was released Monday.
Okay, so
last Monday.
I totally biffed that. It was released last Monday, so check that out.
Yeah, Leo talks a lot less.
Can he talk? Is it possibly that he could even talk more? I think that wouldn't be. I don't know if that's even possible.
And he's not even here to defend himself.
Well,
he's in the chat.
Yeah,
that doesn't count.
Whatever do I mean, Leo? I don't know.
Yeah, you see, should have been in here, Leo. You should have been in the Zoom.
Oxygen levels went up.
So,
sorry, Leo. Love you, man.
I'm also on a podcast called Linux Out Loud. We discussed subscription fatigue. I don't know if you are experiencing that, but we have a chat about that. Bill is guest hosting while Matt cannot be there, so it's been fun. If you
Those
want more,
have been cool episodes.
yeah, they have been really fun, and he's really picking up the trolling on me too, so I appreciate that in Matt's absence. If you have more things on me, go to cubenite.com. I do things. Linux Saloon is part of the Tux Digital Network, so check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com. I want to thank everyone for being a part of the conversation in both the Zoom meeting and on the YouTube stream, as well as everyone for watching this show after the fact. I want to thank everyone involved in making Linux open source tools possible, especially you, Leonard. I'm talking to you. And for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back in a personal computer. Thank you for stopping by, and be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, see yas.
Bye.
Bye.
Leave us. No. Bye.
Take care.
Well, 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 look who it is.
And we have Michael Tennell
The
from
troll
This
has
Week in
arrived.
Linux. Excellent.
Well, hello.
Hello. I could use a slightly louder mic from you, so I have less editing to do this time.
How about that?
Oh, it's a little better.
Little better. Rude.
Yeah. So Schickel, you raised your hand already, but I will get to you in just a moment. So I am Nate.
You're muted, Nate.
How'd I do that? Dan, would you see yourself using